call, please.
Alderman Ames.
Here.
Alderman Catalano.
Here.
Alderman Currielli.
Here.
Alderman Jacob.
Here.
Alderman Messina.
Here.
Alderman Sismarski. Absent. Alderman Woods.
Here.
Mayor, please.
Here, declare quorum present. Please stand and join the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I need a motion to approve the minutes of August 4th, 2022.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any comments, corrections, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. I have a couple citizens this evening. We'll start with Ms. Dina Kraus. There you go.
So I've lived in Wooddale for 22 years, and I stayed out of the city politics until I heard about what the Radcliffe was doing. And it pissed me off because of the rumors I was hearing. So I went and I found out the facts, and it in turn, something I thought turned out to be something that could be so great for the seniors, the youth, and the city. To my surprise, I decided I'm gonna advocate for the Wooddale residents to learn the facts instead of what's being said, the rumors. And I decided I was gonna start going to some of the meetings. And I went to the first two CDC meetings, and the one at the junior high, the vote passed 4-2 with 3 conditions added by someone by the name of Sean, which if I'm correct, works for the city attorney, which in turn was removed by the mayor on the 14th of July, okay? So that affected the vote. I'm assuming it doesn't fit some of the agendas that some of you guys have. Now, on August 4th, I didn't speak. But when I left, I spoke to Mr. Messina and Mr. Jacob outside. And when I was leaving, one of the aldermen walked up to Alan, the owner of the Radcliffe, and was told by one of the aldermen that I should be put on a leash. So Mayor, here's my frickin' leash. Too bad Samarsky isn't here for you to hand it to him to see if he thinks he can control me. Because he can't. None of you can. I am allowed my opinion, and I have the right to speak it as loud and as often as I want. And for an alderman, in open, in front of other residents, within 10 minutes, I had people on the phone with me, what he said. Do you find that acceptable from an appointed city official? Because I don't. You want to get personal? I can start getting personal. I haven't. I tried to stick to what I was here for. He decided to take it to another level. And I'm very disappointed he's not here tonight. Because I would have asked him if he wanted my leash, myself. I just think that the city, the residents, all should be the same. Because the way I see it, it truly is the greatest show on earth. It's like a dazzling display of prejudice, racism, and ignorant comments out of some of the city officials' mouths. It's like the best ringmaster and 5-seat circus. And I say 5-seat circus because there's some I respect up there. And I just think it's appalling how you let the city officials run their mouths. The meeting was over, but on city property. I have always been respectful and defended the city on my webpage about what's happening in Wooddale. Well, I can guarantee that stops now. The only part of the city that I will defend is the police department, because they do their jobs and they do it right. But some of these city officials don't. So I would think that you would have a little respect for the citizens of Wooddale and their opinions, and not make smart-ass comments like Sismarski did, in addition to the racist comments that he's made. So you better put him on a leash.
Thank you. Mr. Daniel?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Daniel. I'm an attorney with Daniel Law Office in Oak Brook Terrace. I've represented municipalities in multiple counties as general counsel, as special counsel, as zoning counsel. I also currently represent the Radcliffe. We submitted correspondence dated August 2nd, 2022, asking for a proceeding to determine a reasonable accommodation for the Radcliffe to allow its program to proceed, notwithstanding the actions of the city so far. As Dina just mentioned accurately, the city voted on something that wasn't recommended, something that didn't come out of the hearing. And as Mr. Bond knows, there's a risk that we're suffering damages today because our project hasn't been voted on as it was processed through the hearing process. There were conditions that were removed. That's a completely accurate statement, and that is causing harm by the minute. A request for reasonable accommodation arises under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Does not arise as a zoning process. It does not arise as a function of the city except in its obligation to comply with federal law. In River Forest, Kleinthorpe and Jenkins represented the village of River Forest. A client suffered a denial of a variation. That denial did not prevent a reasonable accommodation from issuing in order to allow River Forest to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act. I would encourage Mr. Bond to contact Kleinthorpe and Jenkins to discuss the fact that they viewed the ADA as something that was above and beyond the zoning ordinance. I received a rather snarky letter in response to our August 2nd, 2022 letter. Mind you, the letter arrived before the city council could even meet to consider whether there was a process they would create to discuss this accommodation. The letter displays a shallow understanding of the operations not only at the Radcliffe, but programs for youth and care. It displays a misunderstanding of what was proposed. It proceeded without the city council's action. Not even a consideration of the matter as an agenda item. It could have been brought up on reconsideration at the next meeting under your codes. But instead, we get a letter from not Mr. Bond, so I want to be clear, I've worked with Mr. Bond for a long time, but the same Sean Conway who drafted those conditions that we agreed to that you never considered. That same Sean Conway drafted a response that looks more like an exhibit someplace else. And it says that we have presented a baseless request. It's not signed by the mayor. You'll note in your city code, there's no provision in section 2601, 602, or whatever follows that gives the city attorney or an associate at the city attorney's office any power whatsoever to determine a reasonable accommodation or to make a decision that is assigned to the council as the legislative body responsible for the city of Wooddale. I'm asking you to direct the city manager and Mr. Bond to engage me, Mr. Shapiro, Alan, who you've all seen here before, and the Radcliffe, the others involved in the program, in a process that should be collaborative and gainful in determining whether and to what extent an accommodation is available under the ADA. I'm asking you for that. An August 4th response to correspondence dated 2 days earlier with no city council approval is a complete failure of your responsibilities under the ADA. I've worked a long time in DuPage, Cook, Kane, Kendall, Lake, Will, up to Rockford, out to Quincy, down to Champaign, south of that to Arcola. I haven't seen such an important decision under the hand of an attorney for a municipality when that municipality should be making the decision, go disregard it. You cannot ignore the August 2nd request. Please get that process moving and initiate this effort on the accommodation side tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any other citizens wish to be heard? Okay. Nothing on the mayor's report. Chief Vesta, anything under city manager's report?
No report.
Okay. Under consent agenda, if no objections, we have 4 items.
I make a motion to approve the agenda with the 4 items.
Do I have a second?
I'll
Okay.
second.
There was no objections, correct? Okay. Roll call, please.
Alderman Ames.
Yes.
Alderman Catalano.
Yes.
Alderman Currielli.
Yes.
Alderman Jacob.
Yes.
Alderman Messina.
Yes.
Alderman Woods.
Yes.
And that passes. Next, I entertain a motion to approve the items on the agenda. Item number 1, an ordinance amending Chapter 5, Article 3, Section 5.305 of the Municipal Code, City of Wooddale, to increase the number of Class GS liquor licenses authorized for issuance. Item number 2, a resolution approving an agreement between the City of Wooddale and R.W. Dunham and Company for the fiscal year 2023 pavement patching and crack sealing program in an amount not to exceed $183,810. Item number 3, a resolution approving an agreement between the City of Wooddale and United Door and Dock LLC for the United Utility Building Door Replacement Project in an amount not to exceed $21,289. Item number 4, resolution authorizing intergovernmental agreement forming the Milwaukee District West Community Coalition and sharing costs to represent the common interests of the parties related to the merger of the Canadian Pacific and Kansas City Southern Railroads. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. Second.
Roll call.
Alderman Ames.
Yes.
Alderman Catalano.
Yes.
Alderman Currielli.
Yes.
Alderman Jacob.
Yes.
Alderman Messina.
Yes.
Alderman Woods.
Yes.
And that passes. Next, committee chairman reports. Public Works, Alderman Messina.
I have one report, Mayor. Gonna actually make a modification to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can either speak to it or can
No,
I?
make the motion, then we'll have
So-
clarification from the director.
Great, so I'd like to, make a motion for a resolution approving an agreement between the City of Wooddale and Action Fence for the Public Works Facility Fencing Project in an amount not to exceed $115,236. That would be my amended motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Lang, just a quick overview on the change in the cost.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. The modification to the not-to-exceed amount is due to the acceptance of an alternate, which would change from an 8-foot chain link fence to an 8-foot vinyl-coated chain link fence for, increased maintenance and aesthetic value.
Any questions on that? Okay, roll call.
Alderman Ames.
Yes.
Alderman Catalano.
Yes.
Alderman Currielli.
Yes.
Alderman Jacob.
Yes.
Alderman Messina.
Yes,
Alderman Woods.
Yes.
And that passes.
and that concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Finance and Administration, Alderman Catalano.
Yes, I have 3, Mayor. First is a resolution authorizing the execution of the redevelopment agreement between the City of Wooddale and 855 Lively LLC. That is my motion.
Second.
Any questions on this one? Roll call.
Alderman Ames.
Yes.
Alderman Catalano.
Yes.
Alderman Currielli.
Yes.
Alderman Jacob.
Yes.
Alderman Messina.
Yes,
And Alderman Woods.
Yes.
Okay, and that passes.
Next is an ordinance amending the City of Wooddale to provide for a large commercial user. That's my motion.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Questions? Roll call.
Alderman Ames.
Yes.
Alderman Catalano.
Yes.
Alderman Currielli.
Yes.
Alderman Jacob.
Yes.
Alderman Messina.
Yes.
Alderman Woods.
Yes.
And that passes.
Last is an ordinance adjusting the City of Wooddale master fee schedule. That is my motion.
The motion is second. Question on this? Roll call.
Alderman Ames.
Yes.
Alderman Catalano.
Yes.
Alderman Currielli.
Yes.
Alderman Jacob.
Yes.
Alderman Messina.
Yes.
Alderman Woods.
Yes.
And that passes.
And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Under other business, actually under airport noise, real quick, just so everybody knows, so the Fly Quiet program has passed. The Fly Quiet Committee has gone to the board and they've passed it now. CDA will be sending the new Fly Quiet program to the FAA once they do some preliminary studies, and then the FAA will be reviewing it before it could even start. But on another note, runway 9R27L to be closed for 60 days. Chicago Department of Aviation has closed runway 9 right, 27 left for a period of 60 days, starting August 15th, for the purpose of finishing soil grading to allow for the finalization of the naviers associated with the extension of runway 9 right. As a result of the departure traffic normally operating on runway 9 right, 27 left will move to 9 center, 27 center when demand requires. So you might get a few extra calls, more planes, so.
Nothing like the fall.
So next is approval of list of bills. Alderman Catalano.
Yes, I'd like to entertain the list of bills for August the 18th, 2022 for $1,848,697.90. That is my motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Okay. Roll call.
Alderman Ames.
Yes.
Alderman Catalano.
Yes.
Alderman Currielli.
Yes.
Alderman Jacob.
Yes.
Alderman Messina.
Yes.
Alderman Woods.
Yes.
And that passes. We do need to adjourn into executive session, review of the official minutes and pending litigation. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned.